In this presentation, we're going to take a look at how we actually set up the Lincoln View environment for county survey records. Um, Let me just log into Lincoln View. Actually, I'm logging into the Oracle database. And most everything is contained under this catalog button that you need to set up the environment. You can define your users that have access to the system or define roles. Then you can define, using this dialog, what users have access to which projects or sub-projects, folders. This is where you actually set up the project, and that just allows you to group the maps and features together so that everything doesn't appear in a single folder. The feature table dialog allows you to specify the tables in the Oracle database that are going to relate to elements in your CAD file. And for example, map sectors is a table that what we track about a feature table is the primary key column. This is the metadata that we track in Lincoln View so that we can actually go to the table and query that value and store it in this row table along with its corresponding CAD/CAM element MS link number. So we call these link tables, and you can create multiple link tables so that if you want to distribute that across, if you have large systems and you don't want to store it on a single table for performance reasons, you can specify multiple link tables. So the graphics, so that's a feature. The graphics files themselves, pretty straightforward. Here's the file names where all of the graphical geometry is being stored. And then you associate those graphical files with the features using this dialog called the catalog, the project profile rather, under the catalog. So the project profile lets me group features together. So reference maps, for example, we have counties and some miscellaneous maps, rivers, highways, quads. And under base maps we have things like sector line and sector number are stored in the map sectors table. We have municipalities or original surveys. We have a number of graphics files associated with that. So this is basically where you set those associations up. Programs. So here's where you would specify your Oracle forms or reports that you want to call. So for example, a sector number, when we click on a map sector number, it's going to call this form W045. And that's basically it. So it's kind of like an erector set. You simply define the users, you define a project along with the features and the graphics files and the programs that it's going to access. So let's look at what it takes now to do the integration. So let's say that we have a form here that goes to Lincoln View, and I demoed that in an earlier demonstration. So let's take a look at this button and see how it is that we're able to call Lincoln View from this form. So I'm going to go to my development server, and we're going to, I've already logged into Forms Builder, and I'm already in that form, and I'm going to click on the button of interest, and we'll go to the trigger. Make it a little wider. And you can see the first thing is we're declaring some variables, and then we're going to build some grab some values that we're going to use to build a command line string that we're going to pass on the command line. So we're going to grab things like who's the user and what's their password that they're logged in at, and then we're going to come down and we're going to ask which of those blocks was used. Did they put in a street? In which case we're going to nullify some of these values and set the street segment PK. But if they didn't specify a street, if instead they specified an intersection, then we're going to use this, and we're going to send it the what am I saying here? Oh, this is going to send it the street segment. This is going to send it the street, and this will send it the street intersection PK, depending upon which of these blocks. Then down here we're going to actually build that command line that we're going to pass at the command line. So we're going to grab CMD, which we're building up here. Actually, we set it right here. We're concatenating the user ID with those keys that we're setting here, and that's it. So when we grab a street or an intersection, and we click on that button, it's basically grabbing my credentials so that it can authenticate, and then sending it whether I had selected a street, an intersection, or an address. And that's a lot more intuitive for a database developer than the reams of code that you have to write in a GIS system. And once I'm here, like I said earlier, you can take advantage of the standard Lincoln View functionality. You can come in and review what's in the database. This is all standard, and if I had a form, you could review it with the Oracle forms. So the question is, how do you call it using the Oracle forms? Well, I showed you earlier. You just simply come in here, and under Programs, you specify for that feature. Let's look at sectors. When I click on sector number, I want it to call 45. So that's the programming involved. There is no programming. It's that simple. So let's go open up the map sectors. And let's click on one. Voila. We've built into Lincoln View the ability to call the Oracle form simply by setting up that relationship. And like I said, if you have more than one form related to map sector, you could it'll actually show you a list of the ones that you're authorized to see, and you can select the one you want to see. And that basically sums up this portion of my paper. Thank you very much for your attention.